Hey, Michael Doherty is now the former PRO of the Micah Action Group. He joins us on the programme. Thanks for taking the time out this morning, Michael.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you on. Just off the back of a call with Minister Charlie McConalogue, and
Okay.
I took nothing from it that gives me any sense that I could relate to listeners that anything is actually moving forward. And the more I hear about it, the more it feels to me. And we heard from Minister McConalogue there, and he can have his position. The more it means to me is that we're really no further on from the first scheme in terms of a scheme that people can get their houses fixed without having to come up with money. And in other words, those with no money end up still just sitting in houses that are falling down around their lugs. Now, I know, is there anything that I've said that's wrong that you can give people a bit of hope with?
Well, first of all, I'm just out of a meeting, so I hadn't heard Minister McConnell go on there, but I've heard him enough of times in the past to probably get a sense of what was said and not said. But the only thing I would say is we had a 90-10 scheme that was 60-40, so there's no point in talking about a scheme that you'd took 90% and been happy with, because that was never on the table. It was a 60-40 scheme, which was cost an average homeowner for an average sized house over 100k, and that was back before we got inflation. Now, there are a few things that people will definitely benefit from this time round. The fact that there is 172,500 increase on the cap. So for the bigger houses, they will avail of that money that they wouldn't have got before. There's 15k for accommodation that they wouldn't have had before, 5k for storage they wouldn't have had before. There is the very firm position of principal private residences only in the old scheme that has now been opened up a bit, at least in that somebody with one rental home can get that over the line as well, subject to RTB, which is ironic in the fact that we had government ministers without RTB registered properties themselves. But anyway, well, I'm sure we'll get past all that. So there are advantages. The disadvantage, Greg, is that the opportunity was missed to give everyone a pathway forward. So to your point, which is 100% right, there is nobody that's not going to get away without having to go to the bank here to try to find money. And that's just not on the table for pensioners and many other people out there. And we had a pathway forward that talked about the likes of the penalty-free downsizing, that talked about the likes of transfer of eligibility, that let people, even though they should never have been in this position in the first place, but there was a pathway if they were prepared to take that. And it'll never sit with me why they weren't prepared to at least do things that was costing the exchequer nothing extra. We had a minister
but you could
at the
argue,
table,
Michael,
with a minister at the table, Greg, with a minister at the table that should have absolutely not left that table until he had agreement that things that cost the state nothing extra, he had in his pocket walking out that door.
Yeah, but the thing about that is if they had have conceded that, this would be a scheme that many, many more people could access. The likes of Ellen, who we've spoken to this week, could access, and therefore it would have cost whatever it would have cost. The way it is now, by resisting that, it excludes an awful lot of people. It excludes an awful lot of people and keeps the costs down. So in other words, it's almost purposely a bad scheme, but you've unveiled a scheme that you can make quite a coherent argument for some people at the very least that it's very close to 100%. But the reality is Ellen and hundreds like her, it's no different, in fact, even maybe sometimes a little bit worse than the old scheme. And maybe that was the motivation.
Yeah, and that's such a shame, Greg, to be living in a country where we have to have a conversation that questions the intent of the people that are meant to be looking after us. And that is the real shame on this, that I can't disagree with what you're saying. And that's just terrible to think that that's where we're bringing up our kids in a society like that. And that's why, in case we don't get an opportunity later, I think that's why the 24th, that's Saturday, we need to be in Dublin, and we need to let this world, not just the government, let the world see what it is that we're putting up with on so many different levels. We've got it on Micah. There's so many. Should it be education? Should it be health? Should it be marine? Should it be agriculture? The list is endless. And that ill intent is how I would describe it, that you just described as potentially what it is in it for them, because there's no other logical explanation.
All right, well,
that's just terrible.
A lot of people, though, may not attend, and I'm not discouraging them because they may have given up on this current coalition, for right or wrong, on delivering or changing. They might be saying, right, well, let's wait after the next election. We had Sinn Féin this week reaffirm their commitment to reviewing this scheme, to making it a fully funded 100% redress scheme. You've been dealing with politicians for a long time now. Do you believe that a change in government, a Sinn Féin-led government, will deliver everything they've promised in relation to Micah redress?
The honest answer, and the only honest answer anybody can give to that question, Greg, is that we don't know. All I do know is that we have thrashed to death any possibility of getting the scheme that we need with the current coalition, which means you have to give someone else a go. You know, they talk about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I think we've been there too many times with this coalition to think that we're going to get anything more. That said, you know, it's easy to shout from the sidelines. I remember clearly being in Leinster House with Charlie McConlogue, with Darragh O'Brien, with Micheál Martin, at the time whenever Leo Varadkar and Owen Murphy were in the high seats of power, that time as Housing Minister and Taoiseach, and them telling us what they were going to do for us when they would get in, and we've seen what they've delivered. So I have no confidence in anyone at this point in time, to be honest, because of the system that they're up against, be it department officials or otherwise. But at the end of the day, they have to call the department to heel. They have to say, we are the elected representatives, and this is how it's going to be, guys.
I'm not saying we should look to
enough.
Britain. I'm not saying we should look to Britain to look for example. But Liz Truss went in, Liz Truss went in. One of the first things she done was change people at the head of the civil service. And when we talk about civil service, I'm not talking about the people that on the ground around here that work for the civil service. I'm talking about the heads of departments, the decision makers. She went in and she changed them all. And there was big pushback, big resistance. But presumably she has a plan. And the only way she can actually make that plan happen, whether it's a good one or not, I don't know enough about it to know, is to get rid of people that might stand in her way. But we would never see that in this country, I don't think.
No. And, you know, it's the Secretary Generals, it's the principal officers. It's not what we have at a local level. Okay, there'll be opportunity there, and there's no doubt about that as well. But, you know, the key decision makers and the people that can hold this stuff up and the people that can hold the politicians to ransom are not at local authority level. They're at the Secretary General level and they're at the principal officer level. That's what we've been dealing with. That's where we found the resistance coming from. And we also had an Attorney General that done us no favours either. So, you know, these are the people that, you know, we need a strong enough government to come in and, as I say, pull these people to heel and say, no, the tail's not wagging the dog from here on in. This is the way it's going to be. I honestly hope that that's what the alternative government does in 2 years' time, if that's how long it takes. But there's no guarantees, and we've been let down too many times by people shouting from the sidelines. So we have to watch the space. But we have to believe as well. We have to give people hope. And, you know, that's the next show in town when these people do come in here, this alternative government, and we have to hold them to account.
Where will the Micah Action Group be at that stage, though, Michael? I think there was a peak. There was a peak ahead of the amazing rally, and history will never forget what happened that day. It was really truly remarkable, and was the catalyst for change. Although there was a bit of cloak and dagger, I think, went on in terms of what change was delivered. All that being said, at that time the campaign was so strong that even those that maybe were trying to undermine it or suggest a different path, they were sort of bouncing off it because it was so strong. That being said, you know, you keep chipping away at the strongest of rock, eventually it will give way. The likes of yourself have left the Micah Action Group. There is a little bit of, I think, acceptance that for the next 2 years, what can be done, even with an incredibly well-organised campaign. So where, because I think a Micah Action Group has to be incredibly strong at the time of a change of government, really, for those changes to be followed through on. But between now and then, where is the campaign? Where is the movement? Is it splintered? Is it scattered? Has it run out of steam from all the effort that has been put in?
No, I think it's probably a very good question. A lot of people want to know, you know, what our position is on that. I would just remind people that 11 years ago, Micah Action Group started around a kitchen table. We have always had strong characters, okay? They just change. You know, no one should ever take away from what Anne Owens and Eileen Doherty did for this campaign. You know, when Micah was not a sexy word, okay, it was a horrible word that people were in denial they even had it in their own homes. And, you know, they managed to pull together, and I was in the tail end of that, but they were in the thick of it the whole way through, was to pull together that 90-10 scheme. So something that had nothing came through to being the biggest redress scheme in the land. And that was down to them two ladies and others that worked, Chris Scott and Eamon Jackson and others that worked along with it all the way through. So they made that happen. Their time had come then where the 90-10 scheme was delivered and they stepped aside. Okay, and they didn't completely step aside because they were still involved. And, and then myself, Eamon Jackson, we had an input of energy from the likes of Lisa Hone, who's staying on, thankfully, and I think will be a massive asset to the new Mike Action Group, and the likes of Sarah Keys-Gill that got involved in there, and they just lifted it to a new level. Who knows where them next levels are? People come, people go. It's not about individuals. It's about the campaign and it's about the cause. The cause hasn't gone away, and we know where the gaps are now. So I think this is evolving, and I think this has to now go into a phase between now and a change of government that's about ensuring there's no further ground lost through the regulations. And I know the likes of Lisa Hone in there will make sure, and she'll be all over that she worked extremely closely with us the whole way through. Though the job for now is ensuring no further ground is lost. The
I've no
job for now
doubt
is
of
making sure the
their
regulations don't detract from what we've got.
I've no doubt of the new faces, enthusiasm and commitment to this. That being said, though, if maybe homeowners don't get behind them like they have in the past, those resources can be depleted quite quickly. How important do you think it is now that the campaign unites behind this new group of individuals?
I think that's critically important, and a couple of things that I want to thank the three for being brave enough to stay on, because it would have been easy for everyone to walk. I needed to walk at this point just for family reasons, and to be honest, the experiences of it just left you that you needed a time out, even for your own mental health, to get yourself back in the game again from a family perspective. It was all encompassing. It shouldn't have been all encompassing. I think if the load was shared more, it would be more sustainable for people. But it is a burnout situation because there's not enough of people taking it on. And I think the other part as well that I would say to people out there, they need to protect their campaigners better than what they've done, right? Now, this is not me looking for sympathy at this stage. I know I'd have taken a few shots. Paddy Diver's taken a few shots, a lot of shots, each of us, to be honest, by naysayers that really didn't have anything else to offer as an alternative strategy. But, a lot of stuff that was unfair, a lot of stuff that questioned integrity, what it was you were about, questioned your motives, looking for something in there that was undermining the possibility that you were just in it for the right reasons, to do the right things. And, a lot of people let that happen. For me to engage or for Paddy Diver to engage and lock horns with these people, that takes away from our credibility within the campaign. But what you would expect is that the thousands of people that should know better out there would weigh in behind and say, hang on, this is just out of order completely. There was bits of that, but there wasn't enough of that. And that allowed oxygen for these people that had nothing better to do other than keyboard warriors. And, we all have families. None of us in here get one penny out of this. If anything, you're out money and you're out a hell of a lot of family time. And the one thing that I would say, not about looking backwards, but learning from the experience of it, is looking forward to the new campaign and the new campaigners that's going to be within Mike Action Group. They need better protection by the public. They need to be protected because they are out in a limb. They don't need to do it. And, it's not that we were
I get you, but
with volunteers
we
either.
Don't live
we only had 10
exactly,
out of 14
Michael.
people.
The only thing is, and I know that would be nice, but we live in we sort of live in a world now on all issues where we don't have sort of that blind faith. And I'm not saying it's blind faith, but we are conditioned now to question everything. And, and we believe a lot of stuff, whether we should or not. But I think your message you've related there is clear. And the people that want to hear it will hear it, and those that won't. You know the way it is. That's just the way we live nowadays.
Yep.
Michael, there was talk of elections, running in elections ahead of, I think, really the final decision. And I think that was mentioned at the right time because it might have lit a fire under some people to maybe get something extra across the line. Do you think that's still a realistic option as we head towards the next election, or do you throw all the faith into the current opposition? Now, we don't know the outcome of the next election, and if there could be a coalition formed to keep out what seems to be the obvious next government, anything is possible. But do you think there is any point now at this stage, or do you think it's likely that candidates will be run at the next election, single-issue candidates?
I think this is one for the new committee. What we wanted to do at the AGM, Greg, was to leave pathways forward in terms of, draft roadmaps. And really, it's up to the new committee then to decide which one they want to take. We left things open, for example, a central committee whereby the 13 counties that we know all have defective concrete blocks at this point in time, that there'd be one rep from each of them would come into a central committee. That central committee would then deal with government, deal with the officials, deal with media, and in the meantime, each county would have its own action group, and there'd be feed forward and feedback to the people through that. And that's one aspect of it. In terms of the political aspirations around that, I think we had to throw that out there. We had to make that a real possibility. It's still out there as a possibility. You've got local elections as well that I think we could certainly do with Micah councillors around the table there to keep people on point. Okay, I honestly see the meetings that take place at county council level, and they're not businesslike. They don't work for me. And we're on the outside looking in. You could certainly influence that greater from within than outside. You look at then at a national level, and could we do with our own couple of independents that would be down there? And we've seen the bargaining power that independents can bring to the table. I don't think any of that should be ruled out.
Okay, right, Michael. Lots of people thanking you for your service over the last while. I think really you don't fully step out of anything like this when you've been so involved in it. But if there is other people now to do some of the work that you and others have been doing, and we look forward to speaking to them too over the course of the next while. Unless there's anything you want to add, Michael, we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah. Well, just a couple of things, and it's probably more. We talked about where to going forward, and one of the things I should have mentioned is the likes of Paul Dunlop and the whole science thing he's got, and he's got. Between 15th and 17th now up in University in Letterkenny, we've got international defective concrete block experts coming to take place and hopefully influence what we have in NSAI. That's a big step forward. With the likes of Joe Morgan working very, very hard, and he's had Eileen Ann, Eamon Jackson and others in there as well on the whole European aspect of things. So all of that's going on at the same time. It may not be directly sitting under MAG, but this is all work, all in the right direction. The 100% redress page, we should never forget what Paddy Dever brought to the party, and we should never do that. We have also got ladies in particular that were working behind the 100% redress page, put massive effort into that, and I don't want to start naming them out individually, but we have another Lisa in there that played a big part. But what I would say is that that's all part of the campaign going forward, and please, people, do not drop your heads. Some of us needed a bit of time out. We haven't gone away. We'll be there. Sounding boards will be there for advice where that advice is asked for. So that's not going away. And lastly, just to thank a few people. Obviously, the Mike Action Group that were there for years, both past and present. For those going forward, to wish them all the best. My own family, who put up with an awful lot of stuff, as have the families of the other Mike Action Group members, the Paddy Divers and the 100% Redress Gang. Families pay a big price here on this stuff. The likes of Highland Radio, I have to say yourself, Greg, I have always found you fair. I've always found you'll test us, but that's fair enough. We should know our stuff. And if you know your stuff, you'll have no problem with Greg Hughes or Highland Radio come to that matter. And you have given us a platform, both in Letterkenny and in Dublin, that we'll always be grateful for. And just, I suppose finally just to say, please again, the 24th of September, don't miss our opportunity to get down there and make our voices heard. Try and avoid the excuses. Do not leave it to others. Let's stand up, step forward and be counted.
Michael Doherty, former PRO of the Micah Action Group, thanks for your time this morning. Have a good day. Chat to you again. All right, take care.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, back with more after these.